our speaker today, Judith Eisen, Terry will introduce, and hopefully I can get the PowerPoint.
Oh, begin, make it move. So, our speaker today, you see, she's right here, Judith Eisen. Judith is currently the chair of the Area Agency on Aging, which most of you don't know even exists. And that's one of the reasons we're trying to go out on this speaking tour, just to spread the word. It's the other AAA. As Master was going to point out your artwork. Oh, so this actually is Judith's artwork. Wow. She's a pretty accomplished artist. She has a strong physics interest and background. Lives in the outskirts of Guerneville, she said. So I thought that was the outskirts, but what do I know? Oh, but anyway, Judith is chair of this committee this year. Has done a great job. It's a group of volunteers working with a very capable county staff. And we're trying to do some big things in serving seniors. So it's all yours. And do you have a mic or do you need this?
I need that.
It's all yours.
This is to advance. This is to when it works, and when it doesn't, this will advance and respond. So let me know. I'll sit right here and monitor.
Thank you. Is this on?
It is.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you all for letting me come and talk to you this morning. I'm very excited to share a lot of this stuff with you. Just one quickie, since this is up here and Terry mentioned this is a painting. This painting is 40 inches wide and 70 inches tall. And I am loaning it to the Department of Adult and Aging for their lobby because they like it. And I like the idea that people would come and see it. So that's just a little something. So this is my first foray into the community. So I'm hoping that I get some interest from you and some feedback from you, because the Area Agency on Aging is an organization that has 21 members. These are our current, close to a current list. You'll see Terry Kelly's name is on there. It's an amazing group. The Area Agency on Aging, which gets confused if you talk to anybody or anybody comes up to you, they say, if we say AAA, they think we're the automobile club. We say, oh no, we're not the automobile club, and they think we're the Council on Aging. But no, we are none of those. The Area Agency on Aging is actually a federal program. I'm going to do these slides, but I'm not necessarily going to speak to the slides. The slides will give you some detailed information. I want to share something that is, I've been volunteering for the Area Agency on Aging for the last 10 years. And it's so surprising to me that we are still one of the most unknown groups, I think, in Sonoma County. But what we do is incredible. And the reason for that is that this is a federal program that was established in the late 60s. And every state has area agencies on aging, and they're all in every state. It's organized differently. In Sonoma County, our area agency on aging is under the county. We're subsumed under the county, which means that we have available to us county help all the time, which is great. So that's that. And what do? We do advisory stuff. Someplace in here. Here's a little thing that gives you an idea. You had Ronit come and talk to you about legal services. We give money that's essentially what the Area Agency on Aging does, aside from advisory and advocacy. We decide how the money that comes from the state and federal government in the area of aging and disability, we decide how that's going to be spent here. Now, it's not that much money. We got roughly right now it's $2.1 million, and we divide that up. Senior legal, you can see some of the things that we do. Senior legal services, we generally in our, we don't have enough funding to pay 100% of anybody's program. We generally are paying about a third. So we give senior legal services, they get $48,000 from us annually. Senior nutrition programs get the majority. And the other things are services that we provide. So those are the things that we do. These are some of the things that we do. The amazing thing is that this is a group of 21 volunteers from around the county. Wonderful people. I mean, just amazing people who have terrific skills. And we have a lot of the money that comes is divided into federal or state programs. But some of it, we get to decide how we spend that. And these are some of the ways that over the last 10 years, we have spent some of that money. So I want to particularly point, if I had a laser pointer, I would point to it up there. But you can see one of the things that we know in Sebastopol that you're familiar with is the volunteer driver program. So I'll speak to that for just a little bit and see if I can communicate some of the excitement that I feel about being able to really affect our community environment. And I'll get to why I'm telling you that in a minute. But so the volunteer driver program started around the advisory council table in about 2007. And the first thing we heard was, oh, you can't do a volunteer driver program. Nobody would do a driver because insurance, you can't do it. So one of our members hustled up to Sacramento to talk to the state insurance commissioner, who explained to us that actually we could do it, and what the insurance structure was like that was preventing it. And then Terry, who was heading the Sebastopol Senior Center at the time, agreed to try out to be a demonstration project for this to see if it works. So we did that for a few years and kind of got that all padded up into shape. Until now we have, I think, 6 volunteer driver programs in different communities in our county that are functional. They are models. This is a model that we've developed that works. And so we set it loose into the community and it goes on its own. Not all of these are, well, not all of our plans work out in a positive sense, but we keep going. You may have seen the Senior Resource Guide. That's an amazing thing, and I brought some here for you to take. The My Care, My Plan is about, what's that called? End-of-life choices, so that you can have a health directive and things like that. Advanced directive, thank you. And that is, again, somebody's passion on our council helped start that program. We now have shared housing. The Share Housing Program, which presently operates out of Petaluma People Services, is something that, one of our members was passionate about that. ended up being able to start that little shared housing program, which has now secured housing for over 100 seniors. And it's functioning very well. So that's another. Those are the kinds of things. The Elder Protection Work Group, which morphed into a lot of things in our community, also started around that table because people were passionate about the fact that elders need protection and were not getting heard or served. And that brings me to another area, which is that mental health collaborative. This is one of the things I love about Sonoma County. I mean, I know that speaking to you, all of you, I'm preaching to the choir. You're all involved in service in the community. I hear that this morning, and I know by the fact that you're here, and you're part of this group, which has service as part of its intentionality. But one of the things that I really love about our community is the fact that we can be involved in what I think of as collaborative efforts. These are also something that this on the Area Agency on Aging that we're interested in. And we've helped put together that mental health collaborative was an effort that began at that table. Again, people who had information about service, mental health services, what was needed, what was happening. We gathered all the stakeholders we could find, and we got them together. And between them, they handed out, there was money available, federal money that was available for mental health. And instead of applying each of these individual groups, instead of applying separately, they managed to come together, figure out what the percentages should be if they get, well, you know, get $1, who gets 30%, who gets 40, or whatever. They hammered that out so that everybody was happy enough with whatever they were going to get, whatever their percentage was, submitted it as a joint community grant, and we got the money. And it encouraged us to do more. So we put together something Terry's been very involved in. We put together a transportation collaborative. And we gathered all the people that we could find who were doing transportation in the county. And we gathered them together in one group. And we worked, since we have also county help available, we were able to hammer out a grant that from Caltrans that brought, I'll total somewhere, correct me if I get the wrong ballpark number, but somewhere around $800,000 came into this county for transit for the senior community because of the work of people on this council and the people who work in the county's Area Agency on Aging Department. So it's an amazing group. We're organized as an advisory group to the Board of Supervisors. But in the 10 years that I have been a volunteer with this group, I can tell you that the Board of Supervisors has literally rubber stamped whatever decision we make. That's quite a statement to me. I'm still kind of awed by the fact that we have such a direct line to shifting the parameters of our community environment. And that's really why I'm here today. Because as money goes down, and I think all of you are familiar with the fact that federal money goes down for services, we need to do something different. And I'm beginning to think of your group and other groups as resources that as yet are untapped for our senior community. And I'm also here to tell you that we need you. Whatever your area of expertise is, the future, and however you see your future as an older person in this community, whatever ideas you have about how you'd like it to be. This is a place where those things with time and patience, those things can be made actual. I can't express how wonderful I think it is that we have this little gem in our community that we can use and develop these kinds of models for all of our benefits in our community. This gives you an idea of what we commit to when we do this. We have a monthly meeting. You know all about this kind of thing, I'm sure. And then these are our committee meetings, which you don't have to be a member of the council to attend any of this stuff. And part of why I'm here is I'd like to see you there. I'd love for any of you who if you have ideas or wishes about what you'd like to see happen for your living, your older adult living in your community, places where you see holes, places where you wish that things were slightly different, or you have an idea about how to make that happen. These are the kinds of things kinds of information that we actually need in order to move into the next section. Now we have, I brought this because it's Vassical, because our volunteer driving program is probably the most familiar to you. I brought some things that show you what kind of, well, here's the actual money grants. The top one, $77,000, is what we give from Older Americans Act funding, and the bottom numbers, oh, I see I was under when I say 800,000. The bottom numbers are grants that, between the county and the council, that we've been successful in bringing into the county. Okay, so let's see if I go back to this, because I want to show you something. There's a myth about seniors that I doubt whether this myth is present necessarily in this room, but I know that all of you are probably familiar with this in some way. You can see that our population, presently our senior population, is 125,000, which is approximately a quarter of the population, and we are anticipating that much of a jump by 2030, which is not very far away, so that we are closer to 30. Approximately one out of every 3 people that you meet in Sonoma County will be a senior by 2030. That's quite a significant thing. We're also the fastest growing aging population in the nation, certainly in the state. So we have to think about these things in terms of what do we want to preserve, what do we want to keep, and what would we like to see happen so that our lives can be comfortable as we move to the next phase of living. Okay, so, but there's an interesting thing that happened for me. I'm not sure if I have the slides on all of this or not, but I want you to pay attention. Pay attention to this 125,000 of the population over, okay. And now we see the under, like this, look at this 60 and older. I want you to pay attention to this 21%. And I'm not sure I have the slide that shows you what that income actually is. Okay, so what the income actually, I'll tell you what it is. And this, I'm going to give you ballpark figures on this. So the rather complex, some of you may be familiar with this, some not. Rather complex an economic index that's used to say what does a group need, what does a person need to live in this county, and right now we're going to look at poverty, living below poverty. 21% of that 125,000 is living below poverty. And I've been thinking about this for a while. We have the misconception, let me get to that first. The misconception is that seniors take and don't contribute back to the community. Like I say, that may not be what happens, how this group responds to that. And I'm not suggesting that it is. But in most of our environment, if you say something about seniors, nobody thinks of the fact of what are seniors contributing. So I took this 21% and the figure that they give you for living below poverty, being able to live as a single person below poverty in this county is 23,000 something, 360 or something like 23,000, that's like $23,000 a year, which you can see is not like these figures here. But at that 21% of the people living on $23,000 a year, I did just multiply those two figures to find out, well, what is the overall spending of that poverty group? And the figure that came up, I had to do the math several times because it's $585,000 and $500,000. So $585,500,000 a year. The people who are living in poverty in this county are spending that much money. And it's kind of astounding to me that that's reality, and that doesn't count for how much, I couldn't get the figures all together, what our gross county product is, because I'd like to know that. Maybe next time I come. It's a tremendous amount of money. And it should dispel the myth that seniors are not contributing anything if in fact people who are living in poverty are bringing that kind of cash into this county. So the idea of how we organize for our senior living situations, you must know, everybody knows that housing is an issue. But there's so many things. And I'm not sure that we have time for me to tell you all the areas that are weak, that we need bolstering. The fire gives us one good example in that out of, I believe it was 27 people that died in that fire, 17 of them were over 70. That means they couldn't get out, they had needs that were not met enough to be able for them to escape from wherever they live. That's too high a figure. If we represent 25% of the population, that figure shouldn't have been any higher than 25%, which is not. But that's just an example of a weak area that we need to work on, which I think everybody is working on something to do with how that fire affected all of us. But there are lots of other things, and we talk about them every week, or not every week, but every month. And we'd love to have you come, any of you that are interested or want to check out what we do. We'd love to have you come and speak to us and come and sit at our committee meetings and join our council. Be part of it. It's a wonderful experience. And that's about it. But I think I'm out of time. So I see you approaching. I hope it was interesting. Yes, you have questions?
How does one become a member of the council?
Well, I have an application with me. You fill out the application, and you can call the 565-5950. We'll get you to the office, and they'll give you, they'll email you out an application, and if you want one, I'll hand it to you today. And then there's an interview process. It's a big deal. And there are also like 10 of our members are appointed by the county supervisor. So we have 2 members from each area that is appointed by the Board of Supervisors, and 2 members that are elected by the council. So every area has 4 members entirely.
And there's a limited size, but if you have some interest, let us know now, and it's like everything else, it's constant.
And flux, a lot of flux. Anything else? Yes.
I'm interested in knowing, or you telling me there isn't a connection or a collaboration between your agency and the Council on Aging. So my question is, if there is collaboration, to what degree? If there isn't any, why not?
Good question. We fund a tremendous amount of our budget goes to Council on Aging to provide for nutrition programs. So we fund them and do other things with them. The age-friendly cities you may have heard about. We're very interested in collaboration. So that's why I think, you know, Rotary is a natural for that kind of collaboration and that kind of focus.
Thank you very much.
I have one other thing. I have some senior resource guides and some copies of this report, which I'll leave over on the side, and if you're interested, you can take.
Is it true that we have no tickets? Could it be true? Judith, let me ask you before you leave, would you be available for questions after the meeting?
Yes.
Is that possible? Okay. No tickets? Wow. That's all I have to say. Wow. You want to buy one now?
There are people with tickets, quite a few of them.
Well,
Did we have a recount?
let's do this here. Can you, President Bill, could you collect them for me? Judith, I have one task for you once we collect the tickets. Who has the tickets? They're all taken. Could you please pull one ticket here?
Those are unsold.
Sorry?
Those are the unsold ones.
They're not sold.
Correct. We each get a free one next week.
All right, so I guess we don't have a task for you other than to hang around here.
I think they are sold. I think they are. Pick a number. Pick a number out of there. Pick a number. Pick a number, Bill.
These were unsold.
No, they weren't pulled apart. When you buy one, you stick it in there. Call the number.
Okay, the last 4.
And what do we have? We have 8616.
861.
Oh!
They got half dozen tickets in the last.
Now we, Julie Kidd, I believe, is going to bring the door prize, and so we'll have a rain check on that. In case you don't win the grand prize.
There it is. Just get
The grand prize. So pick one, pick.
Get it.
Oh, maybe next time, but rain check on the door prize. Who has the joke of the day? That's right. Who has the joke of the day? Does anyone have a joke of the day? The joke is no joke. Wait a minute, I've got a joke of the day. Actually, we don't have a joke of the day. But we do have Joe to take us home.
Trails to you.